Captain Jake Morrison watched the stars disappear one by one from the observation deck of Orbital Station Alpha. Each point of light that vanished meant another hyperspace lane had been cut off by the alien forces. The Galactic Coalition had finally made good on their threat to isolate Earth completely from the rest of the galaxy. Jake pressed his hand against the cold metal wall and felt the vibration of the station's systems working overtime to maintain their position above Earth. The communication board behind him crackled with static as the last deep space transmission came through. Commander Ryan Phillips' voice broke through the interference from somewhere beyond the outer rim of the solar system. His exploration ship New Horizon had been caught outside the blockade when the aliens activated their quantum barriers. Ryan reported seeing massive alien vessels positioning strange devices around the entire Sol system. These devices created invisible walls in space that no human ship could cross. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the command center deep beneath Colorado's mountains, watching the tactical display show red warning lights across the entire star map. Every route that humanity had used to travel between stars was now blocked. The aliens had been planning this for months while pretending to negotiate peace terms. They had demanded that humans give up their independence and become servants to the Coalition. When Earth refused, the aliens decided to trap them in their own solar system like animals in a cage. Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt the mountains shake around her as the emergency power systems came online in the secret laboratory complex. She had been working on Project ZEUS for 15 years, knowing this day might come. The aliens thought they were smart by cutting off Earth's access to the stars, but they had no idea what humans had been building in the depths of their homeworld. Elena looked at the massive generators that filled the underground cavern and smiled. The aliens were about to learn that trapping humans was the worst mistake they could make. General William Kane activated the highest-level security protocols as reports came in from around the world. Human colonies on distant planets were being attacked and their populations enslaved. The aliens had waited until the blockade was complete before revealing their true intentions. They did not just want to isolate Earth, they wanted to destroy human civilization entirely. William knew that Project ZEUS was humanity's only hope, but the system needed more time to reach full power. The alien Admiral Zeth Carr broadcast his demands to Earth from his flagship positioned just outside the solar system. He told the humans they had 24 hours to surrender completely or face total destruction. The Coalition had grown tired of human expansion and independence. They wanted all human technology turned over to alien control and all human leaders arrested as war criminals. Zeth Carr believed that trapped on Earth with no way to escape, humans would have no choice but to accept defeat. Jake Morrison received orders to evacuate all non-essential personnel from the orbital stations. The skeleton crews that remained would operate the defense platforms when the real fighting began. Jake looked out at Earth below and saw the lights of cities that had no idea how much danger they were in. The people down there trusted their military and scientists to protect them. Jake hoped that trust was not misplaced. Elena Rodriguez worked through the night calibrating the ZEUS systems with her team of engineers and physicists. The technology they had developed could bend space, and time itself, creating artificial passages between stars. Unlike the aliens who depended on natural hyperspace lanes that could be blocked, ZEUS could make its own routes through dimensions that the aliens did not even know existed. The power requirements were enormous, but Earth's fusion reactors had been upgraded specifically for this purpose. Ryan Phillips and his crew watched helplessly from beyond the blockade as more alien ships arrived to reinforce the quantum barriers around Earth. The New Horizon had enough supplies to last several months, but they were completely cut off from home. Ryan sent coded messages toward Earth, hoping someone would receive them. He reported that the alien fleet numbered in the thousands and included species that humans had never encountered before. The coalition had assembled the largest military force in galactic history to deal with the human problem. General Kane coordinated with military leaders around the world as they prepared for what might be humanity's final battle. Nuclear weapons and conventional forces would be useless against the advanced alien technology. Only ZEUS offered any hope of victory, but the system was still experimental. No one knew if it would work as designed or if activating it might tear apart the fabric of space around Earth itself. Admiral Carter watched the countdown clock in the command center showing how much time remained until the alien ultimatum expired. She had spent her entire career preparing for interstellar warfare, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. The fate of the entire human species rested on technology that existed only in theory until a few months ago. Carter ordered all military units to battle stations and prayed that the scientists were right about what ZEUS could do. The last hyperspace beacon went dark as the alien blockade reached completion. Earth was now completely isolated from the galaxy with no way for messages or ships to get through. The aliens celebrated their victory, believing they had successfully trapped the dangerous humans in their home system. They had no idea that in trying to cage humanity, they had just awakened something far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. 3 months passed since the alien blockade trapped Earth in its own solar system. Admiral Zethkar felt pleased with how well the containment was working. His surveillance drones reported normal human activity on the planet below. The city still glowed with lights at night, and ships still moved between Earth and its moon. The humans seemed to have accepted their fate and given up any hope of breaking free from the coalition's trap. Dr. Elena Rodriguez descended deeper into the mountain complex every day to check on the ZEUS arrays. The massive machines hummed with power that made the air itself feel electric. Chief Engineer Paul Bennett worked alongside her team to bring each generator online according to the careful schedule they had planned. The aliens thought 3 months was enough time to break human spirit, but humans had been preparing for this scenario for 50 years. Captain Jake Morrison coordinated evacuation procedures with Colonel Amy Stewart as they moved people away from the orbital defense platforms. The platforms would need to remain operational, but with minimal crew when ZEUS activated. Jake and Amy both knew what was coming, even though most of Earth's population remained unaware of the secret project hidden beneath the mountains. The people below trusted their leaders to find a solution, and that trust would soon be justified. On Luna Base, Director Kevin Hughes watched the construction teams install the final components of the moon-based ZEUS array. The lunar facility would serve as a backup system and also help focus the reality warping effects that the technology created. Kevin had spent his entire career working on theoretical physics, but ZEUS represented something beyond normal science. The devices could actually change the laws of physics in small areas of space. Commander Ryan Phillips and his crew aboard the New Horizon survived on emergency rations while hiding in an asteroid field beyond the blockade. They had watched hundreds of alien ships arrive to reinforce the quantum barriers around Earth. The coalition fleet now numbered over 2,000 vessels from dozens of different species. Ryan sent daily reports toward Earth, though he had no way to know if anyone received them. General William Kane met with world leaders in secure bunkers as they prepared for Operation Starbreaker. The name came from Elena's description of what would happen when ZEUS reached full power. The arrays would literally break the alien-constructed barriers by creating tears in space-time itself. Kane worried about the risks, but Earth had no other options left. Elena Rodriguez felt the mountains shake as the first ZEUS array achieved full synchronization with its sister units around the world. The quantum field generators created invisible forces that extended far beyond Earth's atmosphere. She watched readings that showed space itself beginning to bend and twist around the solar system. The aliens had built their blockade using technology they understood, but ZEUS operated on principles that even humans barely comprehended. Paul Bennett, monitored power flow from the massive fusion reactors that fed energy to the ZEUS arrays. Each generator required more electricity than entire cities normally used. The underground complexes had been designed to handle these enormous power demands, but the systems were being pushed to their absolute limits. Paul knew that if anything went wrong, the explosions would be visible from orbit. Admiral Zethkar received reports from his science officers about strange energy readings coming from Earth. The planet was generating quantum signatures that made no sense according to Coalition understanding of physics. The alien scientists assured him that humans lacked the knowledge to create such effects. They dismissed the readings as measurement errors or primitive attempts at jamming technology. Jake Morrison watched from Orbital Station Alpha as space around Earth began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The ZEUS arrays were starting to affect reality itself in ways that human eyes could barely perceive. Jake felt excited and terrified, at the same time knowing that humanity was about to use technology that could either save them or destroy everything. Colonel Stewart coordinated with ground forces as they prepared for the chaos that would follow ZEUS activation. The aliens would certainly respond with violence when their blockade failed. Human military units around the world stood ready to defend critical facilities while the Space Forces dealt with the alien fleet. Amy had studied every piece of intelligence about Coalition military capabilities and knew the coming battle would test humanity's limits. Kevin Hughes activated the final sequences on Luna Base as the countdown entered its last phase. The Moon-based array would fire first, creating a focal point for the Earth-based generators. The combined effect would tear open artificial hyperspace lanes that bypassed the alien quantum barriers completely. Kevin felt the ground vibrate beneath his feet as energies beyond human experience began building toward critical levels. Elena Rodriguez stood in the main control room watching displays that showed ZEUS approaching full power. She had dedicated her life to making this moment possible, but even she was not entirely sure what would happen when the arrays fired. The mathematics suggested that space-time could be manipulated to create new routes between stars, but mathematics could not account for every variable in such a complex system. General Kane gave the final authorization codes that would activate ZEUS across all sites simultaneously. The moment had arrived for humanity to discover if their greatest scientific achievement would save them or doom them. Kane looked at the faces of his staff and saw the same mixture of hope and fear that he felt in his own heart. The alien admiral Zethkar was reviewing reports when his sensor operators detected massive energy spikes coming from Earth. The readings were so far beyond anything the Coalition had ever seen that most officers assumed the equipment was malfunctioning. By the time they realized the humans had actually created something impossible, it was already too late to stop what was coming. ZEUS came online at exactly 8 in the morning on a Tuesday that would be remembered as the day humanity changed the galaxy forever. The effect was immediate and devastating to everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. Space around Earth began to tear like fabric being ripped apart by invisible hands. The quantum inhibitors that had sealed off the solar system started failing one by one as artificial gravity wells punched holes through the barriers. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the control room as her life's work exceeded every prediction and calculation. The ZEUS arrays were not just creating artificial hyperspace lanes, they were fundamentally altering the structure of reality in localized areas. The energy output was so enormous that monitoring equipment throughout the solar system registered effects that should have been impossible according to known science. Admiral Zethkar felt his flagship shake as the first reality tears appeared near his position. His science officers stared at their instruments in disbelief as readings showed space itself being rewritten around them. The Coalition had mastered conventional physics over thousands of years, but humans had somehow learned to break the rules entirely. Zethkar ordered his fleet to emergency positions, but the alien ships were designed for normal space combat, not battles against enemies who could change reality. Commander Ryan Phillips watched in amazement from his hiding place beyond the blockade, as glowing rifts opened in space near the new horizon. The tiers led directly back to Earth despite the quantum barriers that should have made such connections impossible. Ryan immediately powered up his ship's engines and headed for the nearest rift, knowing this was his chance to get home and help in whatever battle was coming. General William Kane coordinated the first phase of Operation Starbreaker from his underground command center. Instead of trying to escape through the alien blockade, humanity had chosen to eliminate the threat entirely. ZEUS-powered weapons platforms materialized throughout the solar system as the reality-warping technology allowed instant deployment of military assets anywhere within the affected area. The alien quantum inhibitors exploded one after another as ZEUS tore through their containment fields like a hot knife through ice. Each explosion sent shockwaves through the Coalition fleet, destroying dozens of ships that were positioned too close to the barrier generators. Admiral Zethkar realized too late that humans had turned the alien blockade into a trap for the aliens themselves. Captain Jake Morrison felt Orbital Station Alpha shake as ZEUS effects reached their position. The station's hull groaned under stresses that normal materials should not have been able to withstand, but human engineers had prepared for this moment. Jake watched through the observation windows as space around Earth became a light show of reality tears and energy discharges that hurt to look at directly. Elena Rodriguez monitored quantum feedback as Earth's new weapons engaged the Coalition fleet for the first time. The aliens had never encountered technology that could manipulate matter and energy at the fundamental level. Their ships, which were designed to fight conventional space battles, found themselves helpless against weapons that could alter the laws of physics around their targets. Paul Bennett worked frantically to keep the fusion reactors stable as power. Demands exceeded every safety limit. The ZEUS arrays were drawing so much energy that several reactor cores came close to overloading. Paul and his team made constant adjustments to keep the power flowing, while the reality-warping weapons devastated the alien fleet above. Admiral Zethkar watched his forces suffer casualties at a rate that made no tactical sense. Human weapons appeared from nowhere, fired impossible projectiles that ignored shields and armor, then vanished before his ships could return fire. The projectiles seemed to be made of exotic matter that could phase through solid barriers, then become solid again. Inside alien hulls, Director Kevin Hughes coordinated Luna-base operations as the moon-based ZEUS array focused its effects on the largest concentration of alien ships. The lunar facility could target specific areas of space and temporarily rewrite physical laws within those zones. Kevin watched displays showing alien vessels suddenly finding themselves in areas where gravity worked backwards or where time moved at different speeds. Colonel Amy Stewart prepared ground forces for the expected alien counterattack, but the enemy response never came. The Coalition fleet was too busy dealing with weapons that operated outside their understanding of warfare. Amy received reports that several alien ships had actually surrendered after watching their fellow vessels destroyed by attacks that seemed like magic. Ryan Phillips brought the new horizon through one of the reality tiers and immediately joined the battle. His ship's conventional weapons seemed almost primitive compared to the ZEUS-powered platforms, but every human vessel was needed. Ryan targeted alien ships that were trying to retreat and found that the reality-warping effects made his missiles far more effective than they should have been. Jake Morrison coordinated defense of the orbital platforms as scattered alien fighters tried to reach Earth's surface. The fighters found that space around Earth no longer obeyed normal rules of physics. Some found themselves moving backwards when they tried to accelerate forward. Others discovered that their weapons fired in random directions, regardless of where they aimed. Elena Rodriguez realized that ZEUS was working better than anyone had dared hope. The aliens had built their entire military strategy around controlling hyperspace lanes and using superior technology to overwhelm primitive species. They had no contingency plans for enemies who could create their own hyperspace routes and weapons that ignored conventional defenses. General Kane received battle reports that seemed too good to be true. Human forces were destroying alien ships at a ratio of 10-1 despite being outnumbered and supposedly outgunned. The reality-warping weapons gave humanity such an overwhelming advantage that the battle was becoming a one-sided slaughter rather than a desperate fight for survival. Admiral Zethkar sent emergency transmissions to the Coalition capital reporting that human technology was beyond anything in their database. He requested immediate reinforcements and tried to explain that humans had somehow weaponized space-time itself. The response from Coalition Command was disbelief, followed by orders to continue the attack regardless of casualties. The battle raged for 6 hours as ZEUS systematically dismantled the largest military fleet in galactic history. By the end of the day, the Coalition blockade no longer existed, and hundreds of alien ships drifted as wreckage around Earth's solar system. Humanity had not just broken free from their cage, they had destroyed the aliens who built it. Admiral Zethkar transmitted his final message to the Coalition Council as his damaged flagship limped away from Earth's solar system. The message was desperate and terrifying in its simplicity. The humans had weaponized space-time itself, and his entire fleet had been destroyed in a matter of hours. He requested immediate reinforcements from every Coalition member species and warned that humanity now posed an existential threat to galactic civilization. But the reinforcements would never arrive because Captain Jake Morrison was already leading the first human fleet through the artificial hyperspace lanes that ZEUS had created. The reality-warping technology allowed human ships to appear anywhere in the galaxy within minutes, rather than the weeks or months required by conventional travel. Jake's fleet struck deep into Coalition territory, targeting military installations that had never been threatened before. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the ZEUS network as human forces expanded their attacks across 17 different star systems. The arrays on Earth could create reality tiers at almost any location where humans had previously mapped hyperspace coordinates. This meant that decades of human exploration had actually been reconnaissance for the war that was now beginning. Commander Ryan Phillips led a strike force against the Coalition supply depot at Kepler Station, where human prisoners of war were being held. The depot's alien commanders had no warning before human ships materialized inside their defensive perimeter. Ryan's forces rescued over 3,000 human colonists who had been enslaved when the Coalition attacked their settlements. Colonel Amy Stewart coordinated ground operations as human Marines equipped with personal ZEUS devices began liberating alien-controlled worlds. The portable reality manipulators allowed human soldiers to move through enemy fortifications like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. Amy watched battle reports that described human troops walking through solid walls and deflecting energy weapons with localized gravity fields. General William Kane established forward command posts throughout the galaxy as human forces systematically dismantled Coalition infrastructure. The aliens had spent centuries building their empire, but they had never faced an enemy that could ignore the normal limitations of space and time. Kane realized that humanity was not just winning battles. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of galactic warfare. Director Kevin Hughes coordinated intelligence gathering as human agents infiltrated Coalition territories using ZEUS-powered stealth technology. The devices could bend light and gravity around a person, making them completely invisible to alien sensors. Kevin received reports about Coalition species that were abandoning the war effort and seeking separate peace agreements with humanity. The Coalition Council convened in emergency session as reports flooded in about human attacks across their entire territory. The species that had once dismissed humans as primitive mammals had somehow developed technology that surpassed anything in the galactic database. Council members who had voted to blockade Earth now realized they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. Elena Rodriguez worked with alien scientists who had defected to the human side after witnessing ZEUS technology in action. Many coalition researchers wanted to understand how humans had achieved what their own species considered impossible. Elena explained that humans had approached physics differently by looking for ways to break rules rather than simply follow them. Paul Bennett supervised the construction of new ZEUS arrays on captured alien worlds as humanity expanded its reality-warping network across the galaxy. Each new installation extended the range and power of the system, allowing even more devastating attacks against coalition forces. Paul marveled at how quickly human engineers were adapting alien infrastructure to support ZEUS technology. Admiral Zethkar arrived at the Coalition capital world only to find human ships already in orbit. The reality-warping technology had allowed humanity to strike at the heart of enemy territory before the aliens could even process what was happening. Zethkar watched in horror as human forces began landing troops on the planet's surface using teleportation technology that made conventional defenses useless. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship as it materialized inside the Coalition's most heavily defended star system. The alien fortress that protected their capital had been considered impregnable, but ZEUS technology allowed human ships to bypass every defensive measure. Jake ordered his fleet to begin systematic bombardment of military targets while avoiding civilian areas. Ryan Phillips led the assault on the Coalition High Command bunker using reality manipulation devices to phase through solid rock and reinforced walls. The alien leaders who had ordered humanity's isolation found themselves face-to-face with human soldiers who could appear anywhere at will. Ryan accepted their unconditional surrender and placed them under arrest for war crimes. Amy Stewart coordinated the occupation of coalition administrative centers as human forces took control of planetary governments throughout the galaxy. The portable ZEUS devices gave human troops such overwhelming advantages that most alien military units surrendered without fighting. Amy established new governments based on human principles of individual freedom and democratic representation. Kevin Hughes analyzed captured coalition databases and discovered that humanity had been deliberately targeted because aliens feared human potential for technological innovation. The blockade had been intended to prevent humans from developing advanced weapons, but instead it had forced them to create technology that made alien science obsolete. Elena Rodriguez received communications from dozens of alien species requesting treaties and alliances with the new human empire. Many coalition members had joined the organization out of fear rather than choice and welcomed the opportunity to escape alien domination. Elena realized that humans were not conquering the galaxy so much as liberating it from totalitarian control. General Kane established the Terran Defense Force as a military organization dedicated to maintaining peace and order throughout human-controlled space. The same alien species that had once thought they could cage humanity now served as administrators and advisors in the expanding human government. Kane ensured that former enemies were treated fairly but firmly under human authority. The galaxy learned a harsh lesson about underestimating human determination and ingenuity. The Coalition had thought that cutting Earth off from the stars would force submission and compliance. Instead, they had given humanity the motivation to develop technology that would make them the dominant species in known space. The age of alien supremacy was ending, and the age of human leadership had begun. 6 months after the first ZEUS activation, the Galactic Coalition ceased to exist as a unified force. Human fleets powered by reality-warping technology had systematically dismantled every major alien military installation across known space. The quantum manipulation devices allowed human forces to strike anywhere in the galaxy within hours, making traditional defensive strategies completely obsolete. Director Kevin Hughes coordinated the establishment of New Geneva Humanity's New Galactic capital built in the ruins of the former Coalition Council chambers. The massive space station orbited what had once been the alien seat of power and now served as the administrative center for human-controlled territory. Kevin supervised construction teams that used ZEUS technology to build structures that defied conventional physics. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked alongside former coalition scientists who had chosen to ally themselves with humanity rather than face the consequences of continued resistance. Many alien researchers were fascinated by the principles behind ZEUS technology and eager to learn how humans had achieved what their own species considered impossible. Elena established research centers where human and alien minds worked together to push the boundaries of science even further. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the largest space navy in galactic history as human shipyards produced vessels equipped with reality-warping drives and weapons. The new ships could traverse the galaxy in days rather than the months required by conventional hyperspace travel. Jake oversaw training programs that taught human crews how to use technology that operated beyond normal understanding of physics. General William Kane established military districts throughout the galaxy as the Terran Defense Force took responsibility for maintaining order in former coalition territory. Many alien species welcomed human leadership after centuries of oppression under the coalition system. Kane ensured that human forces protected civilian populations while eliminating the last remnants of organized resistance. Commander Ryan Phillips led exploration missions into previously unknown regions of space using ZEUS-powered ships that could penetrate areas blocked by natural phenomena. The reality-warping technology allowed humans to travel through cosmic anomalies that had prevented alien expansion for thousands of years. Ryan discovered dozens of isolated star systems containing primitive species that had never been contacted by galactic civilization. Colonel Amy Stewart commanded ground forces that established human colonies on the most strategically important worlds throughout the galaxy. The portable ZEUS devices allowed human settlements to thrive in environments that would normally be hostile to human life. Amy coordinated terraforming projects that used reality manipulation to create Earth-like conditions on alien worlds. Admiral Lisa Carter supervised the integration of alien military units into the Terran Defense Force as former coalition species contributed their knowledge and resources to the human empire. Many aliens had joined the coalition through conquest rather than choice and were relieved to serve under leaders who respected individual rights and freedoms. Carter established training protocols that allowed aliens and humans to work together effectively. Elena Rodriguez received daily reports about new applications for ZEUS technology as human engineers found ways to use reality manipulation for civilian purposes. Farmers could alter local gravity to improve crop yields. Miners could phase through solid rock to reach valuable deposits. Construction workers could manipulate matter at the molecular level to build structures that lasted for centuries. Paul Bennett oversaw the construction of ZEUS arrays on hundreds of worlds as humanity extended its reality-warping network throughout the galaxy. Each new installation increased the power and range of the system while providing local populations with access to technology that improved their quality of life. Paul worked with alien engineers who contributed their own expertise to the expanding network. Kevin Hughes established diplomatic relations with species that had remained neutral during the war against the coalition. Many civilizations that had avoided contact with galactic powers were impressed by human principles of freedom and self-determination. Kevin negotiated treaties that allowed these species to maintain their independence while benefiting from human protection and technology. Jake Morrison led ceremonial flights through the galaxy as human ships visited every major star system to demonstrate the new reality of human dominance. The flights served both as diplomatic missions and warnings to any species that might consider challenging human authority. Jake ensured that these demonstrations emphasized human strength while avoiding unnecessary intimidation of peaceful populations. Ryan Phillips discovered evidence that the coalition had been planning to exterminate humanity entirely rather than simply contain them on Earth. Captured documents revealed that the blockade was intended as the first step in a campaign of genocide designed to eliminate the human species permanently. Ryan shared this information with human leaders who realized how close they had come to total annihilation. Amy Stewart coordinated relief efforts for populations that had suffered under coalition rule as human forces provided food medical care and technology to worlds that had been exploited by their former masters. Many alien species had been reduced to subsistence living, while their resources were extracted to support coalition military expansion. Amy ensured that these populations received priority assistance during the transition to human administration. Elena Rodriguez established universities throughout the galaxy where human and alien students could study together and advance scientific knowledge through cooperation rather than competition. The research centers focused on developing peaceful applications for ZEUS technology while exploring new frontiers in physics and engineering. Elena believed that education and scientific cooperation were essential for maintaining long-term peace. General Kane received regular reports about the complete collapse of organized resistance to human rule as the last coalition holdouts surrendered or were eliminated by Terran Defense Force units. The reality warping technology gave human forces such overwhelming advantages that continued fighting was futile. Kane established policies for integrating former enemies into human society while ensuring they could never again threaten galactic peace. The transformation of galactic civilization accelerated as human principles of democracy and individual freedom spread throughout former coalition territory. Species that had been oppressed for centuries experienced liberty for the first time in their history. The galaxy that had once been dominated by fear and authoritarian control was becoming a community of free peoples united under human leadership. Alien historians began studying the rapid rise of humanity from isolated species to galactic superpower, trying to understand how such a dramatic change had been possible. They concluded that human creativity and determination, combined with advanced technology, had created a perfect storm that reshaped the entire galaxy. The species that had tried to cage humanity had instead unleashed forces that would transform civilization forever. 5 years after the alien blockade, Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the observation deck of Terra Prime Humanity's massive space station that orbited the former coalition capital world. The galaxy was transformed beyond recognition from the time when humans had been considered a minor species on the galactic fringe. Human colonies now stretched across 1,000 star systems, each protected by ZEUS arrays that made them virtually impregnable against any conceivable attack. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, commanded naval forces that patrolled hyperspace lanes that humans had created using reality warping technology. The old coalition routes were obsolete, replaced by artificial passages that could be opened or closed at will by human controllers. Jake supervised training exercises where human pilots learned to navigate through dimensions that most species could not even perceive. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had become Director of Galactic Research, overseeing scientific projects that pushed the boundaries of what was possible with ZEUS technology. Human scientists working alongside alien researchers had discovered ways to manipulate matter and energy that made previous technological achievements seem primitive. Elena coordinated experiments that explored the fundamental nature of reality itself. The former alien overlords served in administrative positions throughout the human empire, having learned that cooperation was far preferable to resistance. Many coalition species had discovered that human rule was more benevolent than their previous government had been. Former Admiral Zethkar now worked as a military advisor, helping human forces understand alien psychology and tactics. Director Kevin Hughes managed the vast bureaucracy required to govern thousands of worlds populated by dozens of different species. The human empire had grown so rapidly that new administrative systems were constantly being developed to handle the complexity of galactic government. Kevin worked with alien experts who contributed their knowledge of local customs and needs. Commander Ryan Phillips led deep space exploration missions that ventured beyond the edges of known space using ZEUS-powered ships that could survive in environments where conventional vessels would be destroyed. The reality warping technology allowed humans to explore cosmic phenomena that had been considered inaccessible. Ryan discovered ancient artifacts and ruins that suggested previous galactic civilizations had once achieved similar technological breakthroughs. Colonel Amy Stewart commanded the Planetary Development Corps, which used ZEUS technology to terraform worlds and create habitable environments for human colonization. The reality manipulation devices could alter atmospheric composition, gravity levels, and even planetary rotation to create conditions suitable for human life. Amy supervised projects that turned barren rocks into garden worlds within months rather than centuries. General William Kane had established the Terran Defense Force as the most advanced military organization in galactic history, with soldiers equipped with personal reality manipulators that made them nearly invincible in combat. The force maintained peace throughout human territory while preparing for potential threats from unknown regions of space. Kane emphasized that human military power existed to protect freedom rather than to conquer for its own sake. Elena Rodriguez continued developing new applications for ZEUS technology as human engineers found ways to use reality manipulation for increasingly sophisticated purposes. Medical devices could repair genetic damage at the cellular level. Manufacturing systems could create materials with properties that violated normal physics. Transportation networks could move people and cargo instantly across galactic distances. Paul Bennett supervised the expansion of the ZEUS network as new arrays were constructed on frontier worlds, extending human influence into previously unexplored regions of the galaxy. Each installation required enormous amounts of resources and expertise, but the benefits were immeasurable. Paul worked with teams of human and alien engineers who had become experts at building reality warping technology. Jake Morrison received regular reports about alien species that requested permission to join the human empire after witnessing the prosperity and freedom enjoyed by member worlds. Many civilizations that had remained isolated for centuries were eager to benefit from human technology and protection. Jake oversaw diplomatic missions that evaluated potential new members while ensuring they understood human values and principles. Kevin Hughes established cultural exchange programs that allowed different species to learn from each other while maintaining their unique identities. The human empire celebrated diversity while promoting universal principles of individual rights and democratic governance. Kevin believed that cultural cooperation was essential for maintaining long-term stability in such a vast and diverse territory. Ryan Phillips discovered evidence of ancient precursor civilizations that had once possessed technology similar to ZEUS before mysteriously disappearing from the galaxy. The ruins suggested that reality manipulation was not unique to humans, but that previous species had been unable to control such power responsibly. Ryan shared this information with human leaders, who took it as a warning about the dangers of unchecked technological advancement. Amy Stewart coordinated humanitarian missions that provided aid to species recovering from coalition oppression, while helping them establish self-governing institutions based on human principles. Many worlds that had been reduced to poverty under alien rule were beginning to prosper as their populations gained access to advanced technology and economic opportunities. Amy ensured that development projects respected local customs while promoting human values. Elena Rodriguez reflected on how quickly humanity had risen from an isolated species facing extinction to the dominant power in galactic civilization. The ZEUS technology had given humans capabilities that seemed magical to other species, but Elena knew that the real source of human strength was their determination to remain free. The aliens who had tried to cage humanity had inadvertently taught them that freedom was worth any sacrifice. General Kane looked toward the future, knowing that human expansion would eventually encounter other powerful civilizations beyond the current galaxy. The Terran Defense Force was already preparing for such encounters by developing even more advanced weapons and defensive systems. Kane believed that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their commitment to protecting the freedom of all sentient beings. The galaxy that had once been dominated by the Coalition's authoritarian rule had become a community of free peoples united under human leadership. Species that had been enemies for millennia now worked together toward common goals. The hyperspace lanes that aliens had controlled for thousands of years were replaced by human-created passages that could not be blocked or controlled by hostile forces. Children born on human colonies throughout the galaxy grew up taking granted technological capabilities that would have seemed impossible to previous generations. They learned to manipulate reality as easily as their ancestors had learned to use simple tools. The future belonged to beings who understood that the only limits on achievement were those imposed by imagination and determination. Humanity had learned the most important lesson in galactic history, that freedom once lost might never be recovered, but freedom defended could transform entire civilizations. The species that had tried to cut Earth off from the stars had instead unleashed forces that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come.